Hi there, my name is Nicole Willett with the Green Mountain Higher Education Consortium Accounts Payable Department, and in this video I'm going to walk you through creating expense items to be issued for reimbursement. It is important to note that these are not transactions that were paid for by a college P-card. So to get started, the navigation path is as follows. We'll start here at our Oracle homepage, and then we'll make sure that we're selected on this Me tab. Once we've done that, we'll go down and we'll select the expenses icon. And so once it's redirected you to the expenses module page, you will select the plus icon that says create report. So after you've made that selection, you'll be redirected to a new screen where you will begin creating your expense report. So as you get started, you will want to enter a name for your report in the purpose field. And typically this is something that will help you identify the expense report at a later time. So for example, say today I have some receipts for my travel to Monterey back in June, I'll name my expense report accordingly. So once you've done that, you will then be able to start adding your transactions. So to create your first item, you'll want to select this icon right here with the little plus sign in the create item. After selecting that icon, you will then be redirected to a new screen that will allow you to enter all of the details in the required fields for this transaction. Since you are manually creating this charge, you will start by selecting the date that the expense was incurred. This is simply the date that is listed on your receipt. After entering the date, you'll then want to select the type of expense that you are creating. So today, I'm going to add my receipts for my meals during my travel. I'll go ahead and I'll make that selection from the dropdown that appears. As you'll notice, once you make the selection for expense type, additional fields will appear for me to complete for the given transaction. It is important to note that the fields that are displayed on the screen can vary based on the expense type that is selected. For example, if I select mileage, you'll notice that these fields are different from the ones that were previously displayed. And the same goes for something like airfare. The fields are different for that selection as well. In addition to having the ability to change the expense type, if you have a receipt for a transaction that was paid for in a foreign currency, you can use the amount dropdown to select the applicable currency. You'll then be able to enter the amount that's listed on your receipt. Once you've done that, you'll want to go ahead and enter the conversion rate on the date of your transaction. And once you've entered that value, the system will automatically calculate your reimbursable amount in US dollars. After entering the information regarding the date, type of expense, location, and amount of the transaction, you will then want to ensure that the merchant name field is completed, as it is now a required field. Please note that this field is a free field, meaning that you can type in whatever value without doing a search and selecting an option from a drop-down menu. In this field, you should enter the vendor name listed on the receipt for the transaction that you are creating. Once you've gone ahead and completed all of the required fields for this transaction, you will then want to make sure that you have scanned and saved your receipts or any supporting documentation that will be accompanying this expense report. On this same screen, you will be able to upload a file to the attachments field by clicking on the blue hyperlink. By clicking on the link, you will have the option to either add a file or add a link. The link option is especially useful for mileage reimbursements, where you will need to include the link to a map displaying the distance traveled. It is important to note that receipts are required by company policies for all transactions that are over $25. In the event that the receipt has been lost or misplaced, you will want to check the receipt missing box. Checking that box will trigger a justification field to be displayed, and in this box, you will want to provide a little note about the missing receipt. Instead of attaching receipts as a bulk file to the expense report, We do recommend that each receipt be individually attached to the expense item that it corresponds with, as this allows for faster processing. On this screen, you will also have the ability to enter the budget number or a DORDA that this transaction should be posted to. By selecting the blue magnifying glass icon, a small pop-up window will open where you will be able to enter the proper account numbers. If you have any questions about the specific account number that you should be using for a given transaction, you will want to contact your department's budget administrator. Please also note that if you are entering a designation coding in the account number, you must also provide that same designation coding in the designation field seen here. If you do not have a value in the designation portion of the account number, but instead have all zeros, that same strand of zeros should be entered in the designation field, as this field cannot be left blank. Once all of the details for this transaction have been provided in the various fields, you will have the ability to either create another expense item to add to this expense report, or you can save and close out of this transaction to return to the expense report's landing page. After you're finished creating transactions for reimbursement, you will want to return to the expense report details page for the report you are working on and just go ahead and verify one more time that all of the information that you have entered is correct. And do note that on this screen, you will also be able to go ahead and change any expense type right here if you need to, change the description, or even add an attachment. So once you have verified that all of the information you provided is correct, you'll want to go ahead and submit. And so in order to do so, you will just have to check this box right here that indicates that you have read and accept the corporate travel and expense policies. And so once you've done that, you can go ahead and submit the report using the submit button in the top right corner of your screen. And once you've done that, this will automatically push your expense report to your supervisor for approval. And once you've submitted, it is important to note that you will want to make sure your bank account has been added to the Oracle Expenses module to receive your reimbursement by direct deposit.